There you are live.
All right, thank you, Madeline. All right, quorum being present, this meeting of the Annapolis Historic Preservation Commission shall come to order. The commission operates pursuant to the land use article of the annotated code of the state of Maryland. Local authority for the commission is derived from municipal code for the city of Annapolis, chapter 21, section 56. The purpose of the HPC is to preserve sites, structures, and districts of historical, cultural, archaeological, and architectural significance. Requirements for serving on the commission are detailed in chapter 21, section 8.06. The HPC operates pursuant to the State of Maryland Open Meetings Act, and therefore no pending application shall be discussed between or among commissioners outside the public hearing. All right, that's first thing on the agenda. Second on the agenda is our roll call. Bill Williams.
Here.
Will Scott.
Here.
Bobby Collins.
Here.
Kevin Smith.
Here.
Our recorder is Kimberly Consoli, and John Tower usually joins us, but as I think all of you know, our condolences go out to him. His mother's services are tonight. So Barbara Tower was a wonderful participant in preserving the historic district through her whole career. So we really, our condolences go out to the family. All right. Next on the agenda, we have two announcements. Any announcements from anyone else?
No.
Okay. Next on the agenda is approval of draft minutes. We have the minutes from February 14th and 23rd. And maybe Kim Consoli, you can help me. I think everyone was at both of these meetings that's on the meeting now. I believe that's accurate. So we can all
Mr. Chairman, we did not have Ms. Xavier on the 14th, and we did not have Mr. Smith on the 23rd.
All righty. So all of us can vote on the 14th. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes from February 14th?
I move that we approve the minutes from February 14th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All right, they pass. Okay. Now, can I have a motion to approve the minutes for the 23rd? And I guess, Will, you can abstain, but all right, motion, please.
I move that we approve the minutes for February 13th, 2023.
Second the motion.
All right.
I wasn't present for that.
That's what.
No, it says Kevin wasn't present.
Yeah, Kevin.
Oh, I am sorry. My mistake. There we go. All right. So do we have a motion and a second already?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All right. Thank you, Kim. All right. Next on the agenda is new violations or status of active violations. I don't have anything to report. Does anyone else?
Just the same ones that have been bugging us for a while.
I noticed there is some. Well, John is doing his best. I think, to work on them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. The other night I did drive by and the lights on one of the restaurants were reduced, but not gone. So we'll see how that goes. All right. If no one else says anything else, we were going to do the consent docket, but now we're going to move on to new business. New business, 80 Compromise Street. So Madeline, if you would please promote the applicant. And there we go. Once the promoter, I'll introduce ourselves and our procedure. So we have, looks like we have 3. Okay, so welcome. the way we work our procedure here is we are interested in, we all have seen your application and reviewed your documents. And you can make a brief presentation, and then the commissioners can ask you questions and clarifying questions. And then we will have a deliberation among ourselves, and then we'll vote. So that's the process. So I don't think you've been before us before. So welcome again. We have Sonia. I think, are you Sonia, are you leading the presentation?
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool. Brian and Jeff and Kenny. Okay, so I'll turn it over to you, and you can hand off. And as I said, go ahead and give us a presentation. We'll ask clarifying questions, and then we'll have deliberations. So
Okay.
go
Well,
for it. Thank you.
thank you for having us tonight. For Verizon Wireless, we're proposing an antenna installation at 80 Compromise Street. I have my engineer actually on the line with us as well this evening, and it's our hope that after answering any questions you may have, that you will give us a unanimous decision regarding our application.
Okay. So do you want to take the screen over and walk us
Okay.
through it?
All right, great. Thank you.
And John Tower is not with us tonight, but we have all seen his staff report. And I will ask one clarifying question. John gave the project a conditional approval, which included a condition that it would include something we've learned about in a prior application, which is a film coating called Obscure Tech. And I just want to make sure that you're in. John indicated to us in his staff report that you understood that that was a condition and that you would be able to comply with that. So that's, before we're going forward, I want to make sure that that is your intent.
Yes, it is. We actually are going to install 12 antennas.
Okay.
And let's see, 3 of those will not be wrapped. The remaining antennas will be wrapped. The reason the 3 antennas will not be wrapped is because they are 5G antennas. We call them MM-wave antennas, and the wrapping obscures the signal. And so just to let you know, I have can you see my screen at all?
Kind of, yeah.
Awesome.
Up to the side.
All right, so here is the antennas that will not be wrapped are 19 inches long
So
and
the smaller ones.
height. So yeah, this is smaller ones. So that's the height that they will be on the
All right.
rooftop.
Is that height above the ground, or will they be on some kind of raised platform?
They'll be mounted on the antenna mount, but again, they're the smallest of the antennas, so they probably won't even be visible from the street.
Okay.
They're this size.
Okay. Maybe when you go through your presentation, you can point those smaller ones out.
Okay, so if you'll notice here on C2, sheet C2, we have a note that our engineer composed that we will wrap the other antennas and just not wrap the 5G antennas. And that is because the additional coating,
Right.
anything paint or the mirror wrap interferes with the frequency.
Okay, understood.
And so here on our rooftop, we'll have put this down for a second. All right, so we'll have a area here. Do you see my cursor?
Thank you, yes.
Okay, and this is where our platform will go with 2 cabinets. And then in this area, we'll have 1 sector. This will be our 2nd sector. And then coming down on this, here we are, we'll have the 3rd sector. And these are the proposed antennas. And as you can see, the Samsung antennas, the 5Gs, are 19.5 inches, the smaller of all of the antennas. the remaining antennas will be wrapped. And I think.
Would you mind pointing, real quick, just would you mind pointing out where those Samsung, the small Samsungs are on the
On the,
floor
on
of
the
plan
drawing?
that you just showed, yeah, on the one that you just showed?
Certainly.
And
So let's see. Put this over. In the alpha sector, these are the small antennas right on the edge here. And if you come over
Oh, I see.
here, I was going to show you on the drawing. Where,
so they're on the frames with other antennas.
yes.
Okay, one each.
Yes. And this is alpha sector, so it would be on this edge. I think it's this edge up here.
And are they mounted at the bottom of the frame?
Yes, right. I'm going to circle it. Yeah, see right there?
Okay.
And then this is our beta sector, and there's the antenna on that edge. And then over here, oop, I'm a little too far down. Oh, way down. Okay. All right. My mouse works when it wants to. And here we are. This is the third sector, gamma. It'll be on this edge.
Okay.
Okay.
I see.
Okay. And I can make that a little smaller so you can see the entire rooftop. Is that visible? So it's a little too
Yes.
small, probably. Is that better? I can kind of, there's on the opposite ends of the roof.
Okay.
These two, and then the one on this edge.
Okay.
Mhm.
Would you like to walk us through any other of the visuals that the current and proposed?
Well, I can tell you that we are going to use the Obscure Tech mirroring. So I did have, they were nice enough to send over a presentation, which again, I think you all may have seen this already, but it talks about the concealment and how well it works. So the antennas will have this mirrored finish.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we saw this before.
Yes, you saw this before.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Any other, okay, so clarifying questions? I know, so Bill, you had some questions, so please.
Sonia, excuse me, Sonia, you might want to go through the photo sims as well.
Oh, sure, no problem. Okay. Let me just pull those up. Oops, 1 second. I'm going to stop sharing for a second while I find those which are right in here. 1 second, please.
Well, while you're doing that, I had one clarifying question. Does Verizon already have antennas on the roof of this building?
They
We-
did.
You do
We
not.
do.
So,
No, we didn't.
okay. That was a hopeful question that maybe you were going to remove some existing.
Okay, no, we do not. We do not.
Okay.
Okay.
You're gonna have to talk to T-Mobile, AT&T. You want to get rid of any
Well,
of
you're joining the crowd, so.
them.
All righty. So I have our photo sims. Now I've got to get back to you all to share my screen. Okay. All right, can everyone see my screen now?
Yep.
Yes. Awesome. All right. So here are the views from,
Can you go ahead and blow them up?
yeah, as long as I can get rid of this toolbar here. Doesn't seem to want to go anywhere. There we go. All right, here we are.
Thanks. That's good. So that's down St. Mary's Street.
Okay. Is that good?
That's good.
All righty. Center it there. Okay. So this is, now I'm not aware of what street this is. Did you say St. Mary's?
This is down St. Mary's Street, yes.
Okay, fantastic. St. Mary's Street, that's the view. And there's another view here.
These are all with and without. So the first photo is without. We also added Dish to these sims since we had their information.
Okay, great. That helps.
So it's got everybody on there.
So this is without and with. Without and with. Without and with. Without and with. From the bridge view. Okay, and then these are just some close-ups of where the antennas would actually go.
Mhm.
Mhm. All right, did you want to see any more of the pictures?
But, excuse me. Could we go back to the last picture?
This was the last picture.
The
This
previous
is,
picture.
this is without, and this is,
No, no,
Picture-
you showed
she
a
wants to see
picture
the-
of an existing installations.
yes.
Yeah, that's T-Mobile's frame. It's up on the roof right now.
Yeah, this is T-Mobile,
Yeah.
and then our installation is going to go right next to them where this
Understood.
code is.
The reason I ask that is
Mhm.
one of the things that make the installations on this roof obnoxious is when they are installed, we have pieces of the framing that stick up all over that apparently aren't required. We would hope that Verizon does a neater, cleaner job and cuts back and reduces whatever they can. And if you look at a lot of the installations, even from a distance, you can see the poles sticking up like you see in that image right there. And I walk that bridge every day and I look at them every day. So there's multiple up there.
Okay,
T-Mobile's got 3 of those installations there. We would not have those extended pipe mounts. They're not, our pipe mounts will not extend above the
The top rail.
largest antennas, yeah. The antennas themselves, they're all different sizes, but they'll be placed at the same rad center, meaning the center of the antenna from the roof. So
Okay.
they look a little staggered, but they're all basically at the same elevation at mid-height of the
Understood. Understood. What I'm saying is it'd be nice just to have them no higher than what's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, we have everything set back on a 1-to-1 basis, height to edge of. And in cases where the edge distance is the least, those are the smallest antennas. So there's less likelihood, they're actually going to be lower than the 1-to-1 because they're going to be mounted at the rad center as the larger antennas.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Okay. I do have a couple others, but I'll let you finish your presentation. This just with an opportunity to look at that.
Okay. I'm actually done. And you can go ahead with your question.
I'm sorry, Tim, may I?
Yeah, of course. Yep. Well,
Yeah.
so clarifying questions and then we'll have a
Part-
chat.
Part
Go
of
ahead,
this is a
Bill.
question for the committee, because there are two codes that are actually under the city zoning for historic district present or installations and construction. I think everyone's aware that the building that's currently there is a non-compliant building. It was built before the code. As far as extending the height, this would be, again, additionally non-compliant.
Mhm.
Secondly, with that, we have, and that code is actually under the historic district, is listed under historic district design criteria, and it's 21.56180 special height limit districts.
Mhm.
So we are allowing something to go up even higher, which theoretically it cannot. Antennas do have a caveat of being 30 inches above that height, but the building is definitely higher than that. So we have two height limitations on there that the building and everything above that height are disturbing. I do have a third piece, is whatever agreements we come up with Verizon, the owner has to, I believe, would have to agree with this. So I'm assuming Verizon has the authority to speak for the owner, since it is a private property. The owner would be responsible for anything where there is a failure to meet the requirements, or if there is a violation.
If I could answer that,
Thank you, sir.
the owners, Verizon does have a lease with the owners, and the final construction documents are the criteria that the site will be built under, and the lease will be agreed upon. So what we have on the documents at that time, they will have already agreed to.
Okay, because as I said, they would be taking any violations there. I don't know if city zoning has looked at this under their preview yet.
They have, and
Or an issue.
they have it in John's staff report. Planning and zoning has approved.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I did miss that.
Yes, yes.
So
We would
the-
not have had a hearing tonight if they had not done that.
I did not think so, but I just want to make sure that those two
Yeah.
items are in the
So,
record.
yes, they're both in the record. Yep.
And I believe there are means of shielding these. And I say that because of an installation that did occur on the Naval Academy Stadium, where I'm not sure if it was Dish or T-Mobile, they have antennas out there, and the owner would not allow those to be installed without a screening that worked with the antennas.
Yeah, my firm worked on that job, so we're familiar with it.
Okay. I believe-
And I believe Verizon was the first carrier out there.
Okay.
So they've used gray caps
Yeah, that's right. it was
materials,
great.
so we're very familiar with those.
Now, one of the items that does have a overall has a non-height limit theoretically in the zoning and in the code is chimneys. So I'm wondering if we couldn't screen these as you would a chimney.
How does one screen a chimney?
Well,
Well,
a chimney is not
you
screened,
do
but
is
I'm
you-
meaning
you-
is the,
Yeah,
it would be, make it resemble somewhat of a chimney, something
I
clean,
got you.
Mhm.
straightforward.
what you would need to do is, there is a stairwell that projects above the main roof here.
Yes, there is.
You could do some type of concealment that would look like another stairwell. Challenge with that is you're gonna have 3 of them. And all facing a different azimuth. So aesthetically, it may not be as clean as you might think. We didn't propose that here primarily because T-Mobile appeared that they weren't required to do it. We were really kind of matching in kind, similar structure as the frame, but that's the avenue we took from a design standpoint.
I do understand that, and personally, I'm upset at myself for not finding this with an earlier application.
Right.
But people have been putting things up here for a while. It does not mean that just because the previous one did it, it's automatically allowed. Please stop me if I'm wrong, Tim.
No, you're
Didn't
not
say
wrong.
that. I just told you how we approached
Yeah.
it.
No,
Okay.
that's fine. If we're, yeah, and so maybe what we can do is move into a conversation among commissioners. We'll move into deliberations now, Bill, because you're raising interesting points and good points. So among commissioners, let's move into deliberations here and discuss the
Tim?
issues that, yes, Will,
Tim?
go ahead.
I have a clarifying question for
Sure. We can go back
Verizon
and forth.
representative. When you referred to the azimuths, is that what the word you used?
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, that means the box, imagine we're building a box to screen it. Each one will face to a slightly different compass point.
Well, the azimuths, typically they try to cover 360 degrees. So there's 120-degree separation between the face of the antennas through the three sectors. So the RF engineers design the site based on the coverage needs they need. So they point antennas to that largest area. So yes, that's what we refer to as an azimuth, is the, at that antenna sector, all the antennas will be pointing the same direction.
Okay,
It could be,
but
theoretically, it could be a circle, it could be a tube, a round. It doesn't have to be rectangular like a chimney, but that's just a design comment.
Okay, and sort of the same, taking the same approach that you just took, Tim, by referring to a round. I'm envisioning a rectangular screening structure. It would not necessarily be able to make that parallel to the roof perimeter. So you'd have you'd have things pointed in different
Well,
directions you do
the
now.
challenge you have there is, that's one way to approach it. If you wanted them all perpendicular in line with the building, they may have to get larger because the antennas have separation requirements between the frequency. Each antenna's probably different frequency. There's separation requirements on Verizon's end. They could be at an angle inside the box, coming across the diagonal. However, that ends up being a much bigger box.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's what I was trying to get clear in my head. Thank you.
Tim, I have one question I didn't think of earlier, if I may.
Sure.
In the application, it says that they're proposing to install 12 panel antennas that we've talked about so far. It also says they're looking to install an equipment platform that will house a battery cabinet and an equipment cabinet. Are those things that can be obscure wrapped as well? Can those things be camouflaged?
Typically not, because they do have heat sources in them. So a lot of them have ventilated panels. You could potentially put some of the wrap on it, but they also have access doors and things like that. So to wrap them 360 degrees, it might be a challenge.
Are you talking about the screening material, or are you talking about the obscure wrap, the
He's
mylar?
talking
the
about
wrap.
the wrap.
Yeah.
I think the wrap is the question.
But the screening could go around those and obscure those.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
If I understand where those are located, they are more towards the center of the building.
Right, yeah.
Are they visible from the street?
They're going to be lower than the antennas in terms of the platform is quite tight to the ground, to the roof.
Mm-hmm.
The cabinets are about roughly, I would say 6 feet
here in this area.
So they're gonna be about, overall, about 8.5 feet in the air to the top. But they're set back a good, well, I don't have a dimension there, but it's probably at least 18 to 20 feet.
There's in the middle of the building.
Yeah, they're gonna be less visible than the antenna frames.
The problem is that where that building sits, when you're at the peak of the rise of the bridge, you can pretty much see everything up there. It's picking up because there's no parapet on that roof.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're gonna be actually 7 feet back, Brian.
No, that's Dish's installation.
Oh, that's
We're actually-
Dish's.
we're
Sorry.
actually 21.9.
21
Yeah,
feet, 21
sorry,
feet
this one,
back.
Yeah. 21 feet back.
But you're right, at the crest of that bridge, you can see the roofs of most of the buildings in downtown.
Right.
Most of the buildings are shorter than this too. But yes, you are right.
Right. All right, other clarifying questions? Then maybe we can deliberate a little bit. I think Bill's raised some interesting points, and the applicant has said that it's possible to possibly add screening, which would require additional design. Going back to our prior discussions, there's a balance between the obscured smaller antenna and another mass. And we did have a trade-off discussion there that said it would actually add mass to the roof versus potentially less obvious or less solid masses. So let's have a discussion about the trade-off there.
And it also Brian pointed out that if you use any sort of screening for boxing, then it's going to be larger, actually have a larger footprint.
If you, especially if you align it with the frame or the grid of the existing building, it would get larger. So thoughts? Yeah, Will, go ahead.
As usual, Bill raises an interesting and challenging point. I'm going to, on this one, take a very sort of bureaucratic attitude. I believe that if we were to ask this applicant to do some further work in constructing some kind of shielding structures or anything like that, we'd have to kick it all the way back through the review process, for one thing. The other thing is that since there's already this mess, and it is a mess, all this stuff here on a building that at least none of us on the commission, I think it contributes to the beauty of our fair town, although it may contribute to the economy. We wouldn't let it happen today, but it's there. And we just approved a new installation. And I would be a little concerned that this applicant, subject to additional expense and review time, and certainly denial, might say, you know what, I don't think I got a fair shake, and I'm going to pursue some legal action. I'm not sure that that would be worth our while as citizens to go down that path. So whatever we do other than act on this tonight, I would like to do in concert with the applicant.
I basically agree with you on Will. But if I may say, what's going to stop the next time an existing violation, which a lot of these are up there, is someone attempts to add to it, that we just push it aside because, well, they've already done it once, they might as well be able to do it again. And I am upset I didn't bring it up the last time. I did bring up system, or the other week, but I did bring up that there was a wrap that was used at the stadium that would conceal. I didn't know the name or the situation exactly at the time. And it went no further. We accepted what's basically a shiny Mylar smoke and mirrors wrap. And because it's basically going to reflect whatever it's around, or whatever's around it.
Well, I think you stated that exactly as we discussed it and acted.
Mhm.
But I'm going to say that what I've been harping on all along, and what I asked the previous applicant, who seemed he gave me a response that seemed knowledgeable and accurate, and that is that communication law today will trample all over any attempt that we make to say that they can't be any more. They're there. They're going to keep getting.
Yes, that is true, Will. That's where I bring up that this is a private property, and ultimately the owner is responsible for meeting the zoning and the building constraints. We are not going against the communication. We're going against the owner's attempt to violate it by allowing something to be put on their roof that the zoning and basically the law of the city of Annapolis theoretically does not allow.
I understand your point.
I understand the point.
And
The fact is that the zoning has already approved that.
Yeah.
So we would have to contradict based on our code, which we could. We'd have to contradict the approval of the other city departments.
And I believe we've done that before.
We generally work in concert with the other departments.
Yes, but it's also true that the departments may not have fully reviewed this to the extent they should have, just like in the previous one.
Well, now we're getting into conjecture. We can only talk about the
I
application
understand.
that's in front of us.
In which case, as a committee independent of the other departments, shouldn't we make our decisions independently?
I think on a case-by-case basis, yes, we should.
Okay.
Certainly on a contributing building that has that would be having any new development on a contributing building that has an adverse impact, we would have a strict standard of review. And this building is not contributing, and therefore it doesn't. So I'm starting to state my opinion
I
here.
understand.
Yeah.
I'm
This
not
is
trying to, please, I'm not trying to argue with anyone.
I think this is a very good
all.
discussion. No, completely agree. Very good discussion to have. This is a
Well-
non-contributing building, and when we do make decisions on a particular case, we need to be clear about the basis for our decisions. And this is a non-contributing building.
Well,
And we wouldn't approve the height of this building or anything else. And so
well, if
that's where I
nothing
was-
else, if nothing else, it contributes to the clutter of the skyline. And this just adds to it. And I'm going to go on mute now. And-
No. I think it's a valuable discussion to have on the record. So I'll state my opinion. Also, I think that it would make matters worse in terms of clutter and mass if we were to put solid screenning around these in any case that would make a new feature on the roof that's worse. So I think we had that discussion. So my opinion is it's worse to screen it, and we would hope that the obscure film would reduce the adverse impact of the. So my opinion is this is a better solution than surrounding it with a frame or of any sort. And I also appreciate the fact that the applicant is not having the spiky, the randomness of the frame that the previous application, the previous installation, existing installation is there. The DirecTV does not have the spiky things on top. It's the existing one that has those. So that's my opinion. So I'll kick it back to other commissioners.
I agree, Tim, that we're better off, in my opinion, with doing the best we can with what's presented here, rather than adding, as you said, more height and mass potentially on the roof that will be much more visible than even these unobscured. I'm a little I'm trying to reconcile what we heard with the last application where they basically said they could put obscure film on everything. And, you know, now we're hearing that it may not be suitable for some things, and I'm trying to wrap my brain around, you know, I feel like we need to be as strict as we can be to try and keep appearances the best that they can be, but we're bound by the limits of technology and, you know, what can and cannot be done. So at any rate. So,
Kevin, would you like to comment real quick, and then I'll go to you, Kenny. Kevin, what are your thoughts?
He's on
Thanks,
mute.
Tim. Yeah, I certainly appreciate Will's points about removing any unnecessary height that doesn't detract from the actual service that they're intending to provide. Other than that, I don't have any additional comments.
Okay. All right, and Kenny, I see you have your hand up.
Kenny's on mute.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, and perhaps you could introduce yourself and tell us what your role in the application is.
The role in the application is, my name is Kenny Whitholm. I work for a company called Raycap Stealth. I've been involved with the antenna concealment industry since 1996. I'm considered one of the founders of the industry. I wanted to bring up.
I'm sorry, let me clarify, Kenny. Are you with the Verizon application,
No,
or are you? Oh, we're gonna hear you later.
No, I was independent, asked,
Okay.
but
All right, then I really we'll hear from you a little later, right?
no, actually, I wanted to show
Are you part
you.
of the? My clarification is: are you part of the Verizon team? So,
they're my largest customer.
okay. So Brian and Sonia, is he a part? Can he speak for you? That's
Well, I know Kenny very well. I'm not sure, we haven't talked about this particular project.
That I'd really prefer that Kenny, you hold your,
Completely fine. I had something.
We're
that
focused
I
on
wanted
this
to-
application right now, so.
No, I think it would help you folks make a decision. That's all. I was going to show you something.
I'm fine with him. He can.
Okay, that's fine. If he expert testimony, that's fine.
Yes.
Go ahead. If the applicant is fine with it, then go ahead, Ken.
long as
Can I
it's in
share
our
my
favor,
screen? And I think this goes to one of Will's points. And let's see, somebody's sharing. Can I opt to share?
Certainly.
So let me show you an example of a. Can you folks see my screen?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so as I'm all for, and I'm 100% backing Verizon with going for their obscure tech film. I'm not here to jam up their application or get in the way or anything. So I'm totally with what Will Scott said and what Brian and Sonia are presenting. So, but one thing I did want, there was a question about overall mass, okay? And so this is what I'm showing you here, just so you have scale. This is a very typical screen wall that you would see for one sector, okay? One sector being one azimuth of antennas, about 12 feet, maybe 13 feet, give or take. In some instances, we add returns on them, and we also kind of make them somewhat resemble the building appearances, but they do add massive, more structure to the, and I just wanted you to be aware of that. Somebody had mentioned it earlier. You were thinking that the overall size or what it would impact the structure, it would. I'm not exactly sure what sector. I'm going to say maybe gamma on the applicant is at a skewed angle to the corner of the building.
Mhm.
And so you would not have been able to actually have a parallel face like you have here. on this particular building or site. So it would certainly not be able to, without it getting significantly bigger, be able to be skewed in the
Yes.
azimuth to
Yes,
make.
we understand.
Okay, so that's all I wanted to say. I have a presentation, but I think it's better suited that if the board allows or they would be interested, I'll present it at a different time. Not going to impede where Verizon's going.
Okay, good. I just was confused as you were part of their team or not at
Nope.
this point. Okay.
I am
I
on
assume you're
vacation,
here,
but not
so
tonight.
you wouldn't have been invited unless you were part of their team. I didn't have the list, so.
Understood.
Okay,
I'll stop sharing.
okay, great. Okay. So we were kicking back and forth in deliberations, the balance between screening and further review or moving forward with the application as submitted with the condition that the obscure tech be applied to 9 of the 12 antenna. So we've kind of, any further comments on my? All right. Well, then I think that it seems like the majority of the commissioners feel like the additional mass would not be an improvement on the application, and also may set the application back to a point where it would cause a problem and require cooperation. So if there's any further discussion, thoughts, then I guess I'll accept the motion.
I move that we issue a conditional approval for the 12 proposed antennas at 80 Compromise Street. The condition is that they apply the proposed camouflaging film where possible. Do we want to include the part about the poles, or just that's?
I think it's indicated on the drawings that the poles do not extend above the antenna.
Oh, Tim, can we please have it included on the
Of
poll?
course, of course.
Not that I don't believe Brian or anyone, but I've dealt with enough workmen that just don't care.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
Then,
and we'll
yes,
have-
of course.
We'll have John Towers revise the staff report when he comes. when he
No,
gets
we can
back.
put a condition on now. It's
Okay.
fine. We can put a condition on it
Okay.
now. That the poles do not extend above the frame of that supports the.
Okay, and we just need the
Thank
applicant to acknowledge that and agree to those conditions.
Yes, we agree.
Second,
All right. All in favor?
aye.
Aye. I see Bobby,
Aye.
Tim, Will, Kevin. All opposed?
Abstain.
Okay,
All abstain. Okay, that's fine. Well, it passes 4-0 to 1, and so it's approved. So thanks, and keep it as neat as possible.
Yes.
We
Yes,
will.
we
I
will.
think that's useful. And hopefully now that all the major providers are on top of
Yeah.
that building, we will be done.
we haven't
we-
heard from yet.
I don't know, AT&T might be shifting around their stuff, so I've seen a couple. That's for another day.
That's for another day. All right. Well, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you
Brian,
for
for
having us.
putting up with me. You have a good one.
Oh, no worries.
No, Bill, thank you for having this discussion, because we're on record as to what our thought process is when we talk about these things. So I appreciate it.
Yes.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you for
Have a
having
good
me.
evening.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Good night.
All right. We have on the theme of antennas, we now, Bill, again, has organized someone to come talk about additional obscuring and shielding technologies, because we are going to see additional, John Towers told us we are going to see additional on other buildings, antenna communications equipment. So Madeline, could you promote?
Yes, he should be.
Jeff. And Jeff was able to hear that whole discussion. So the context is pretty exciting, pretty clear. Hi, Jeff, welcome.
Thank you, Tim.
And thank you for taking the time to present to us.
You're
And
very
you heard
welcome.
it, I think you heard that whole discussion, I hope.
We did. It was honestly a little bit of a sticky situation for us, in that Verizon is our largest customer, as Kenny said, and we often work in conjunction with them in giving presentations to folks like yourself about whatever they're proposing, and we certainly don't want to go against what they did, what they are proposing, right?
I'm sorry if I put you in that position.
No worries, Bill. I didn't know they were going to fall off. I don't know if my colleague, Kenny Wedholm, is still on. I think he is. Are you able to upgrade him to a panelist as well? He's going to be the one presenting to that.
He is no longer in the attendee list.
Let me call him. I'm
After
sorry.
he spoke during the previous agenda item, I had realized my mistake in promoting him, so I put him back to the attendee list. So when he comes back, I'll promote him.
You ran away from Verizon.
Oh, we didn't know Verizon was going to be on, and we were concerned.
I apologize. I thought I told you all that we were having someone else apply.
It's on the agenda, so.
Yeah, so Jeff, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your organization and the types of solutions that you provide, and particularly educate us a little bit. Are you involved in installing obscure tech type things, or installing
Obscure
screening?
Tech. Sure. Obscure Tech would be a competitor of ours.
Okay.
Just a little bit about myself, and I'll start presenting the company. Maybe Kenny will be able to join back. I'm Jeff Homan. I work with, I'm the president of All American Associates, which is the local manufacturer representative firm for Raycap. Raycap in the antenna world is better known as Stealth Concealment Solutions. Raycap purchased us 4 or 5 years ago. Raycap is the largest lightning protection manufacturer in the world, and they're also the largest supplier of concealment solutions to antennas and cellular systems and radio systems and the DoD and other folks worldwide. Stealth Concealment Solutions was headquartered in Charleston. They're still down there. We have additional facilities in Kearney, New Jersey, and Post Falls, Idaho. The antenna concealment industry Stealth founded, and Kenny was part of that founding group. We started out as Stealth Network Technologies in 1991. The first cellular antennas concealed in this industry were concealed inside of a flagpole. Since 91, we've been producing concealments of every shape and size imaginable. In Washington, D.C., there's probably 500 plus concealed cellular systems. Sometimes those systems are, we're just concealing one sector at a time. Sometimes we're concealing the entire antenna array. We're on the previous project, we've done large parapet walls that conceal all the antennas or the entire antenna farm up there, along with everything else. Same sort of thing you would do with a mechanical screen wall, except our screen wall is RF transparent. I think that's Kenny. He's going to be joining us in a second. So we can do just about anything. The only things we can't really match up to is anything that's metallic looking, but we do all types of stones, brick. In Annapolis, we've done, obviously the Naval Academy is one of our larger projects, but if you guys are familiar with Bates Middle School off of Spa Road, that's a steeple we did not too long ago. It's extremely ornate. We duplicated exactly what was up there. We're often cutting off church steeples and putting up RF transparent steeples, and these steeples are very old, and we have to duplicate exactly what's up there originally. sometimes we're adding to buildings.
That
say-
sounds a little scary to us, cutting off
Yeah.
people.
It
But
is,
you'll never know it. They'll do it in the moment.
We won't be
Yeah.
cutting any steeples.
It is what we are able to do, and Kenny's about to get on and he's going to present and show you some photos. It is really unbelievable. We have come a long, long ways from a flagpole. We're on college campuses across the country. We're obviously on the Naval Academy, but we're also on NFL stadiums, Major League Baseball, any kind of sports venue you can think of. In some cities, like say Washington D.C., they're really, really tough on their building permit process. They require all antennas to be concealed if they are not flush mounted. Flush mounted means it's mounting directly against the building. So say if the application that Verizon just presented, if they had like a stairwell or a mechanical room or an elevator room on top of that building, which is fairly common, the carriers often try to flush mount directly against that and then paint the antennas. And then all the radio equipment and cables is strung to the inside of the building. Which is an important thing to hide. Sometimes folks are just focused on just hiding the antennas or just painting the antennas, but the cables, the remote radio heads, all the gear and structural support that goes with it creates probably a bigger eyesore than just the antennas alone. So we're able to really duplicate just about anything you see in the general construction industry. We do everything you can think of, from windows to, we've even done art pieces in Northern Virginia. We've done large signs or centerpieces in certain towns where the concealment, nobody really knows it's the concealment, but it's the centerpiece of the town with the town name on it and so forth. Kenny is, he's going to be able to show some of this to you in a second.
And the focus that we're really interested in is a smaller scale than stadiums or even this. As we get, so I mean, interested in some of the smaller. We are going to be interested in some of the smaller scale installations around.
I'm sure everybody here is going to a Rural Farms. All the Rural Farms cupolas are our transparent cupolas. We've got over 100 of them. There are antenna installations more than you can imagine. We do silos, right? A silo looks like a silo.
We don't have silos in ours. They're like, yeah.
No.
And Kenny, I'm stealing a little bit of your thunder here, sir.
Can you guys see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet, Ken.
No. How about now?
Yes.
We got it.
Okay. So,
Super.
as Jeff mentioned, I won't get into the whole song and dance about the company. But, as Jeff mentioned, one of the things we do and have done for a very long time is our goal is the aesthetics business, really, is what it is. We paired RF transparency with aesthetics, and that's how Stealth was formed, essentially. And so, in reality, the colors and the textures and the different types of ways we can fabricate the materials, I wouldn't say it's limitless, but it's all within the confines of, say the building or the structure or, the municipality or even CHIPO, requirements. In reality, it does add cost to the wireless providers. However, part of the trade-off to that is they get a site approved, right? And
Yes.
so I think like tonight,
Yeah, we're in the aesthetics business too on this commission.
and just so you guys are aware, prior to joining Stealth, I'm one of the founders. I was in I owned a company in northern New Jersey, and we did a lot of work all over the tri-state area. But I was in the historic renovation business, so it kind of worked out in my favor to when we transitioned over to concealment. So that's where my background is originally from. So, as I mentioned, we have the concealment is really, I wouldn't say limitless, but, we do everything. The city of Montclair, there was an original smokestack here this is the municipality site where all the trucks and vehicles go at night. And they wanted an industrial look. There was one originally that said Montclair on it, and we matched it, right? And there's multiple carriers in here. There's room for all the carriers to put all their equipment. This site is, as Jeff said, a cupola with a functioning clock and weather vane. This is on Ocean City, New Jersey boardwalk. And you have what they call the build to suit companies that build these very large scale structures with a lot of architectural moldings and louvers and clocks and all that stuff. It really, and all of this, oddly enough, is RF transparent. So there's room for carriers in every elevation. And and as Jeff had mentioned, silo type structures. We do probably maybe a dozen a year of silos throughout the country. Of course, I mentioned earlier where we have a pretty extensive color matching system that we use. It's pretty accurate. Occasionally, it takes a few tries to actually get it dead nuts, but we don't build it or fabricate it until everybody signed off on it. That's just the way it is. So we had mentioned earlier in the earlier tonight about chimneys. I'll blow this up a little bit. So this is an example of a chimney right here. Here's one too that's made out of stone. Now this would only have this particular site. These sites are like micro mini sites, I guess they are. Technically, there's only probably 3 antennas in here and 3 antennas in this, but given the location, given the height, given the area where they are, that's the coverage that the wireless provider needed. So they were able to live with it. And we match other architectural elements like this Spanish tile roof. This isn't a mosque. We do work, I didn't mention, we do work all over the world. Raycap, the parent company that owns us now, is an international company. We have 9 facilities worldwide, 3 in the United States, 4 in the United States. So, we have our hands in a lot of wireless telecommunication products. Here, somebody had mentioned earlier, you were kind of looking for smaller architectural type applications. Here's something that we do use at stadiums, in buildings, in maybe a downtown area where, there may be residential or, a shop type here and then, living quarters above it. This is a side mounted box, and these are side mounted boxes. We kind of find architectural elements in the buildings or on the structure that we can kind of blend. We can kind of blend our concealment into. Here's some before and after. This is a interesting one. This is it's for Concordia College in Brownsville, New York. And originally, this is how it looked prior to the concealment, and this is it after the concealment. What's interestingly enough is that the original build structure, when it was built, actually had this concealment in stone, just like the rest of the building, but there was a fire in the 50s, and all the wooden structure and the support structure came down, so they removed it and capped it. A creative architectural or real estate person found some photos and said, why can't we bring it back to its original condition, right? And that's where we ended up with this. This particular site was an add-on. This is at Quinnipiac College up in Connecticut. And we have lots of other smaller. Here's what Jeff mentioned earlier. This is Royal Farms. And more chimneys and more chimney-like structures that we do. I don't, and I apologize, I don't have a lot of photos in this particular presentation of churches, but we do a lot of churches in spires and cupolas and things of that nature, like Church Circle in downtown Annapolis, or any one of the churches that you might see in your area. Where
we're familiar with St. Anne's and the Louvers,
Yeah.
and that
yeah,
steeple are actually man-made
Yep.
materials that
Yep.
I'm not sure you installed those, but we
Yeah,
did
we-
that 10 years ago, I think.
Yep. And so, even in, oddly enough, in New York City and some of the other cities where they use these water tanks, the old school water tanks they used to use on the buildings, we actually make a lot of these. They actually make real ones still in New York. There's one or company or two companies that do it, but they get approved. And so the carriers, that's what they put up. Something they can get approved.
We have a couple just like that in Baltimore.
Yeah.
And for the same reason as a college, the building was originally built with it.
Yeah.
They were able to, one of them I'm thinking of, that the support structure was already there, that the tank had been taken off of the support structure. So we just put a new tank on the support structure, and it looks amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of show you a little in process. This is a site. This is kind of what we deal with, where we do a lot of extension. So here's what it would have looked like, maybe not with this framing on top, but exposed antennas just out on the edge of the building. And then here's, this is basically what it looks like finished. Same with this. They would have taken as Brian mentioned, an elevator shaft or a stairwell or something of that nature, and just extended up with the, with the concealment. This is an example of, we do faux stone, we do faux clapboard siding, we do faux cedar shake siding. Really, whatever works, we try to replicate. Although I am not as active as I used to be in terms of gathering the information, we have two younger guys who do it now. I am climber approved and all certified and what have you. And I used to be the person many years ago, one of the people from our engineering department who would actually go out and measure every little detail, all the different stone, all get the patterns, get everything. And we have folks who do that now. So, when we're trying to match an architectural element, that's what we do. So in a site that I'm extremely proud of is the Christopher Lloyd House, and actually it's at William and Mary College. It's the oldest university residence. Actually, the building was completed in 1705, I believe, and we replicated the windows on the cupola. It's in Williamsburg, on Main Street in Williamsburg, and we replicated the original pane windows to the point where we actually made them by hand. We didn't use machinery. We didn't use a CNC machine. We actually used real planes, and we actually cut the profiles just like that. That was the only way it was going to get approved, and we did it. And on the governor's house, when you walk down Williamsburg and you see the eyebrow window or the roof at the end, we replicated that as well. And I gathered all that information, and we so we do have some pretty historic stuff that we do.
Great. It's fascinating, and I can certainly see that concepts applicable to future activity around on existing buildings. And we don't have too many new buildings, but so this is
No.
it's gonna affect on
But
some
you know,
question.
you might, you might
Questions from
have,
commissioners?
I'm gonna stop sharing. You know, you may run into, some might need to be dressed up as well, you know? Which, you know, we do add things to buildings, just to give them more of an architectural flair, so to speak.
Yeah. Right, so your applicant, your customers would be our applicants, and we would be,
Yeah.
you would be guiding them. I was
Yes.
interested in bumping out to screen with an architectural feature, like a box, basically,
Yeah.
that screens everything. I can see that happening on a non-contributing building. Again,
Yeah,
we're gonna-
non-contributing.
exactly.
Yeah.
We try to, we produce photo sims free of charge. We try to design things where it makes a building look like it was meant to be there, right? If we're not replicating something, like we're replicating church steeples for the most part, but we're adding something. We're working often with a local architect like Bill, trying to make it look like it was meant to be there.
Yeah.
So often our first part of this process is producing photo simulations, and then once the carriers approve it, then it comes and is presented to you folks. I add a couple of things. One, our concealment technology works for everything, right? 4G, 5G, 3G. We are approved and we have the correct panels for everything out there. Sometimes when you're wrapping antennas, because these antennas have the radio equipment, it's like a combo unit. It's half antenna, half radio. So they're active. They're producing a lot of heat. Wrapping the antennas can cause a lot of issues with that heat, right? And that's probably why some folks may shy away from wrapping certain antennas. And then, you know, the carriers are often, they're always upgrading their sites. When you conceal antennas, you know, you don't have to come back to get things rezoned or re-permitted or new photo sims when you're going from a 4-foot antenna to a 6-foot antenna, or you're moving from 3 antennas per sector to 4 antennas, or you're adding more cables or more remote radio heads. I've seen a lot of monopoles or, you know, traditional sites that go up, they look fine at first, but by the time they're populated with 3 or 4 carriers, and there's cables all over the place, right? It looks a lot different than folks, you know, what they thought they were getting, right?
Yeah, of course.
When you're concealing things, you don't have to worry about any of that. As technology changes, the carriers can come in and just change that stuff out and put something up new, and it doesn't change the look. So there are, you know, there are other benefits to the carriers than just getting that initial approval and using concealment. As Kenny said, it does add cost, but we like to think that maybe the
we're about our sandbox is aesthetics. So yeah, for that. Yeah. All right. Other questions? This is great information.
I know everybody here. I don't know. You know, Bates Middle. I had the drawings pulled up if you want to look at that, but see the concealment. But if not, no worries.
I'd like to see Bates since I have a daughter there.
Yeah, and it's in my neighborhood. It's like. It's
Well, I don't have a picture of it, but when you drive by, you're going to know where all the antennas are. Kenny, or am I able? I don't know how to work.
What's the site, Jeff?
Here, or here we
Yeah,
go.
Will has a question.
More of a comment to thank these gentlemen for such a thorough presentation with all the different capabilities of their firm. But I think we've grasped the point, and we need to keep their contact information for the reference of our applicants and ourselves.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. The target for your presentation, we were educating ourselves, and that's great. The main target is the person who's doing the renovation, and so we appreciate that. But this looks like St. Martin's.
Oh, this is Is it St. Martin's? I'm
It
sorry.
is St.
We call
Martin's.
it Bates Middle.
Yeah, we call it Bates Middle. That's Jeff. Yeah, it's not Bates.
No.
1120 Spa Road.
I
No.
remember seeing this go up. Yeah, this is St. Martin's. I don't know why you would call it.
Yeah,
Bates
this
Middle,
is not Bates Middle.
but I remember
Those
seeing
are,
this.
those aren't actually our drawings. Those are who was the carrier? That was, who was that? T-Mobile?
It's
Or AT&T, that's
AT&T,
right.
and
You're
it's
not making a
beautiful,
good
Kenny. It's
case here.
really ornate.
Yeah.
Not a
I
good
pass
case,
by
but
it
I
almost every
remember-
day.
Yes, I remember seeing this go up, and I thought, boy, that steeple got bigger.
So
No,
what,
Not really
There's-
relevant. So
but one of the unique things is this does have the newer technology antennas. Matter of fact, one of the challenges is to create the architectural elements
sure.
in there, but we have to deal with thermal, right? So we have a thermal mass that's generated when that equipment there's no stagnant air. The only way they actually work is to have airflow go over the heat fins
Sure.
and actually dissipate the heat. So when we don't have heat, we actually had to redo this design when they decided to add certain types of equipment right there, Jeff. That generate heat. So
Okay. We appreciate that. I think to Will's point, this has been great education for us, and I think now we can think ahead to other applications that we might see in the future. We'll be able to actually ask the applicant, or in a pre-application, we can
Sure.
use our information to tell them, have you thought about these aspects and these potential? If they just come in wanting to slam an antenna on there, we'll be armed, I think, to say, hey, concealment is something that you should pursue if you want to get approved.
And I think different markets for us are different. I think there's some markets where what we call the site acquisition people, the real estate people are pretty tuned into the Historical
Yes.
Preservation Society or ARB or whatever it may be in the town. And they know right away that they're going to get shot
And
down.
we're pretty
Yeah,
well known in that regard.
I would say, the closest large city where it's required on a large scale is DC, and they just know, right? If it's not flush
Sure.
mount, they've got to conceal. So they're working on those solutions, and those are the only solutions that are being presented. Now in Washington, DC, it's like 8 different approving authorities, right? You've got the Historical Society, you've got the GSA, you've got sometimes a secret.
Can't even imagine. Yeah,
All
we're
right.
at a
Well,
different scale. And
Jeff,
yeah,
Kenny, if I can ask one question, you saw
Sure.
the building that we were dealing with today.
yes.
It has a black mansard-like piece running around. Part of it's fake, part of it has like windows in it. Could you take something like that mansard and put antennas behind it?
Well, we do. The challenge, matter of fact, we have one being delivered here in Philadelphia. It's actually on its way, called Front and Walnut. And I'll hold on one second. I'll get you. I'll show you something.
well, the next man's
do that.
roof.
But it's challenging because you have multiple angles involved. You have the pitch of the mansard roof, you have the antennas, and then the antennas want to rotate, right? As we said, we don't get to control that mansard, the direction of the mansard roof.
Yeah,
So
it's
we
an
have that
existing
azimuth
mansard
angle
and
in there.
access to it from behind
Yeah,
was the issue.
It can be
So,
very, very challenging. Yes, very challenging. And
Yeah.
so,
So
but we
the
do
answer is
that.
yes, but.
yes, but it all depends on each application.
It does. Like the color matters. When you have it angled towards the sun, it's going to get a lot more sun. So we're using our transparent materials and paints. We're not using like powder coated metals where the fade is a lot slower. So there's a lot of different things that go into play, especially facing up towards the sun.
All right. Good question. Well, when we see an application like that again, we'll consider an existing roof or rebuilding, concealing an existing architectural feature. I think is what you're talking about, Bill.
Yes.
So here's a side view. Essentially, is that what you were asking,
Yes.
Bill?
Yeah, this would be existing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is actually, it's a replica standing seam roof. It's not mansard like asphalt shingles. It's standing seam.
Mhm.
And we do that on structures a fair amount, provided, as I mentioned, we can we can get the antennas in there and we have enough room.
Okay.
It's fairly popular. We'll let you guys go. It's getting late. I know you guys want to end the
Thank you.
meeting.
No, we appreciate your time. Really do. It's
Very much.
educational. All right. Thanks, Bill, for setting it up.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sure, I appreciate it, Bill.
Good night.
So next on our agenda is any other business. I two things very quickly to mention. We did, I think, that I submitted our grant for our rewrite of our guidelines, and we are hoping, I haven't gotten any other applications in, but there is potential for other sources. John's not here, but he also put in the request to the city for at least $3,750 in this year's budget, and maybe some in next year's as well. The other thing that I just wanted to put in a bug in your ears, today or yesterday, there was an announcement of additional federal funding for the city dock, which is exciting. Kind of 3.7 million isn't it's a good thing. We know it's going to be more. We're going to need a lot more. But it brought to mind again, and I had several people say, "Hey, is this on schedule? Is it really construction going to start in the fall?" And we have seen a variety of drawings, but haven't seen the formal presentation process start, even real pre-application. So I'm going to propose that I call Eileen Fogarty again and say, when are you coming back for another step forward in your application? What we saw was some new landscaping designs for a fountain and a few other things, but we haven't seen the next step. And I'm concerned that the expectation that is that they, we want to see the drawings as soon as they're available so we can provide our comment. And in fact, Will, I don't know whether the City Dock Action Committee has met again to review these. You're on that committee, I think, aren't you?
No.
It's done?
I don't know that it's done. I asked not to be appointed to that committee.
Okay.
Because
All
of
right.
the potential conflict.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I'm just going to stir that up a little bit and see if we can get another presentation soon.
Okay, yeah.
Because we know they're working on design.
And to be honest, every time we see something, it's radically different from what we saw before. So
Yeah.
I'm concerned that they're not narrowing the funnel yet to,
I agree.
hone in on a design. It's just everything keeps changing significantly.
Yeah. And we want to be part of the team and part of the solution. We worked with the garage, and we don't want them to come to us with 95% complete designs when we haven't had an opportunity to provide input. So I'm going to stir that pot up a little bit, or request to get on the schedule. So, all right. Any other business, folks?
No.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody.
Would you like
And, I would like a motion to
motion?
adjourn.
Yeah. I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Kevin, I assume you are an aye. All right. Thanks, everybody. And